Hi, I'm Andrew Fleming. I'm a reporter here at the Vancouver Courier. I'm sitting here with my colleague Mike Howell. One of the top stories this week involved real estate. Real estate's always kind of a hot topic here in Vancouver, but in this case it could become literal. They're looking into the possibility of adding condos on top of fire halls, and Mike did a story on this. What can you tell us about it, Mike?
Well, Andrew, number 5 fire hall at 54th and Kerr in Vancouver. It's an aging fire hall, and they're looking to redevelop it. And one of the plans that the fire department has put forward is a plan to involve affordable housing. So if you can imagine, they were actually want to build a fire hall and allow people to live above the fire hall. And this kind of falls in line with the city's homelessness and affordable housing strategies, where they're trying to find more affordable housing in the city. They don't have a lot of space, so here's a way of possibly adding affordable housing to areas of the city that you wouldn't think otherwise could fit affordable housing.
Now, I would think it's fairly expensive if you're going to do a major renovation to a fire hall. Obviously, it needs to be up to snuff. You can't really be cutting any corners. Do you know if the developer would be kicking in at all, or is it entirely city moneyed, or how they might split that?
Well, this is something that they're still working out, but as one of the deputy chiefs told me from the fire department last week, he said that the city just can't afford to spend millions and millions of dollars on just a fire hall. So that has to be worked out. This is kind of new ground for the city, although it's not unprecedented to share facilities with the fire department. I'll get to that in a sec. But I do know that the focus here is on trying to redevelop some of this prime land. You look around the city, fire halls are located in prime real estate spots, like at Main and Powell and other spots in the downtown. You have these low-rise, 2-level kind of fire halls, and they're surrounded by high-rises. So there could be, as the deputy chief told me, they could be looking at this as a model for other developments as aging fire halls come up for redevelopment.
Now, I imagine noise would be kind of an issue if you're living on top of a fire hall. You got sirens going on off all the time, but I suppose that really wouldn't be that different from where it is now. I mean, in noise. I mean, if it's social housing, it's social housing. Do you know if there's any issues like that?
Well, I asked that question of the chief, and he said, well, obviously anybody moving in there would be aware that they're moving in over top of a fire hall. But the way that this will be built, it'll be separate entrances. There'll obviously be a buffer there. But there will be noise issues. But again, people moving in there will be aware of that. I was going to get back to what I said about other examples. Like in the city of New Westminster, they actually, there's an old building there where they moved the new police department in there some years ago, and then they allowed people to buy units above the police department. And in Vancouver, although it's not the same noise level, at near 10th and Granville, they have an existing fire department, and it's in the same building as one of the library branches in Vancouver.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that they had some problems. Sometimes people are trying to stuff library books into the fire department's door or something like that.
Yeah, well, the library's not open 24/7 like a fire department, so I've heard some stories where people want to drop off books to the library and they just assume they can drop them off at the fire hall instead of the library. So that's a kind of funny story.
Anyway, just changing the subject for a second. You were saying that there's a change and there's a new development in the Center for Performing Arts. There's an announcement from the church.
Yeah, the Center for Performing Arts, we've talked about this before. I wrote a story back on May 7th kind of announcing the fact that Westside Church was negotiating with the owners of the Center for Performing Arts in Vancouver, which is located at 777 Homer Street. So the church and the owners have been silent on this despite repeated requests to speak to them. But I've since received an email from the lead pastor of Westside Church who has told me that the purchase sales agreement with the owners will be finalized in August, and they are looking to continue renting the venue for various performances, arts and culture performances. In the meantime, they have confirmed that the Go Ballet can go ahead with its Nutcracker performance over 10 days at Christmas time. And this was a real concern for Chan Han Go, the director. I spoke to her and she said, quote unquote, her stomach was in knots over this because the previous owner, or I guess you can call him still the current owner of the center, said we have to cancel the contract. And if you have any questions around that, contact the purchasers, i.e. the church. So the church has since worked out an agreement with the Go Ballet, and Chan is quite pleased that they're able to go ahead with the Nutcracker for, I believe, the 5th year at the center in Vancouver.
Well, that's good news for the Go Ballet. I think it'll be interesting to see whether they'll allow other arts groups to use it in the future. I can imagine they won't have some sort of certain standards. They might just not allow anyone to use it, but if it's sitting empty half the week, I suppose they might want somebody paying the rent. What do you think?
Well, that's something that they're negotiating or looking at and studying, because I can't imagine the church holding services every day there. So another issue with that building is that I'm not sure if a lot of people realize, but churches don't actually pay taxes. So if the church does go ahead and finalize this deal in August, as it says it will probably go to the city and apply for a change of use zoning. So when they do that, the city has some discretion, some criteria before granting that. But the whole idea, I mean, if you own a church or you're running a church, why wouldn't you go to the city and ask for change of use so it be used strictly as a church, and therefore you wouldn't have to pay taxes? So I'm not sure how that's going to work out if they want to continue to rent it out for various performances, whether the city will say, well, you still have to pay tax. I'm not sure, but I just wanted to bring the viewers up to date that, in fact, looks like the church will finalize the deal in August, and the Go Ballet's performance of the Nutcracker will go ahead in December.
Okay, well, Mike, I know you've got another story you're working on right now, so I'll let you go. Thanks for keeping us up to date.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right.